Welcome, bienvenue. Welcome to Cladding Matters, a place where we discuss all things to do with cladding and the ongoing situation where people are locked in to their properties, like dear Steve here, because quite simply, you can't sell it, you can't insure it, you can't rent it, you can't do all with it because of the way in which it was built and built at the time of building. And apparently, at the time of building, a lot of these places were falling foul of the strictures that were in place at that time, not later, at that time. Critical point there. It turns out also, if you put enough money potentially in brown envelopes and pass it over to certain organizations, then investigations suddenly stop. What a surprise that is. I thought we were in 2025, not 1725. Anyway, moving on. Welcome to Cladding Matters. As is traditional, I'm going to pass the baton over to Hamish.
Well, this week we have the outline topic of risk assessed, action deferred, but then it extends the long wait to feel safe at home. It's not going to happen anytime soon, is it? No. And there's a number of reasons for that. What doesn't help the situation is almost become a political argument. Because at one particular sort of point, we could hear this Labour government suggesting the reason that we'd fallen foul in so many ways was because of behaviour of the Conservative government. Now, when conditions at the time of build of places like Royal Artillery Quays, when the, if you like, the build conditions, there was some sort of withdrawal of, if you like, they didn't have to be built quite as safely as they had been previously, type touch. It was a Labour Parliament, Labour government that was in power at that particular point in time. So they started that we'd still find that properties, including Royal Artillery Quays, were still built substandard to even those standards which had been watered down.
So are you saying that the standards that they were built to, even then, they were rubbish at the time of building? They were watered down. My goodness.
Yes, I mean, they only lasted about 6 years. Steve would confirm for me, but it was for only about 6 years when they tried to change it back again. But if you like, particularly, we know Royal Artillery Quays because we've seen all the evidence as to why, in fact, those buildings have failed. But what had happened, I listened to a discussion between a group called the Welsh Gladiators in the week, and the Welsh Gladiators have actually been, even since before 2019, have been trying to work with the Senate, the Wales Senate, which is effectively their government. And guess what? It's a Labour government. It's a Labour Senate that is in charge of what's going on in Wales. And they have repeatedly tried to push away the seriousness of what is going on with the cladding in Wales. Now, it's not quite to the same extent. How unfair is that? I'm sorry to actually say this. People are
absolutely horrendous.
They basically are in a situation they feel unsafe in the properties they're living in. But the Labour government or the Labour Senate in Wales are pushing back, trying to prevent the gladiators, as they're called, from actually pursuing, if you like, the right sort of measures to put these houses right. Now, to confound all of that, we do know what's actually been going on with the local government. The local government in Royal Artillery Quay, that is responsible for Royal Artillery Quays, they as well themselves have been trying to sort of water down the failings of the build of those particular properties in Royal Artillery Quays. There's probably a lot of others as well, but we know about Royal Artillery Quays. But to top it all, the major builders, and we'll actually investigate this a little bit further next week because I think this is important. 7 major builders, 7 of the big builders which our opening song sings about, Barrett Redrow, Bellway, Berkeley Group, Bloor Homes, Persimmon, Taylor Wimpey and Vistry, they have been able to come up with £100 million to stop the investigation by the Competition and Markets Authority investigating their behaviour of an anti-competitive nature. Now, I mean, okay, that's all very well and good, and apparently they're going to invest that money into new homes. But why on earth, if they can come up with 100 million, hasn't that 100 million already been put into the improvement of the buildings that we know are currently failing and are actually sort of, if you like, they are resulting in difficulties for masses and masses of people. What did we hear last week? Up to 13,000 buildings we know of. Those buildings of a particular sort of height, we go down to 18 meters, we go down to 11 meters. There are hundreds of thousands of people all over this country actually suffering in the same way. And it's being prevented, it seems to be. Is it from a political point of view?
It seems to be it's to favour one viewpoint rather than another. Let's put it that way. Steve, I realise there are certain things that you are less able to talk about than others, but would you give your viewpoint, please?
Yeah, so I mean, as you know, we're challenging Greenwich Council on the very false assumption, a false finding, not assumption, although there are assumptions in that finding, that there is no evidence based on all the available information of building regulation breaches at the time of construction. Now that we put that out there for 12 weeks, and the council has every time said they've addressed our concerns and the matter, and they've responded. Now that's true, they have responded, but it's untrue that they've addressed the matter, because every time they respond, they cloud the issue. So our point is only that they should withdraw that statement. And what they have done really is to confuse the matter. And there's this big thing in the building safety crisis post-Grenfell of a confused state, which is pushed by those that want to save the money, like the builders and the government and so on. And there's two concepts. There's one, was the building built lawfully at the time of construction? There's some documents, there's some legislation, you check it, you check your safety certificate. It's like passing a driving test. You've got a book, you've got some law, and you do your driving practice until you pass it, right? And the examiner's there to make sure that you do what's required by the law, and the guidance is there to help you comply with the law in driving. And that's exactly the same thing with building. So that's category one. On lawful building, you failed your driving test, but you're still allowed to drive. Same with building. Get the people in with the illegal buildings. Similar concept. Two, and this is where the council is trying to mislead. So they're trying to say in their publicity, which they posted through every door at RAC, and they posted on their website, and they posted on Twitter and Facebook, that there is defects at RAC, but implying, and they say that, you know, there's stricter regulations now post-Grenfell, which is true. But the combination of saying there's no defects, there's no unlawful construction at the time of build, means the builder did everything right. And it's because post-Grenfell, things have got more strict. Well, that isn't the case. The Greenwich's own building control said it was missing compartmentation. That was a legal requirement at the time. The internal walls, which Greenwich Council was sent reports of, are non-compliant because there's holes in them, and there shouldn't be holes because the smoke and the fire goes through the internal holes between flats.
Makes it pointless having walls in the first place. We can have bloody holes in them that the fire can pass through.
Yeah, that's right. So they were sent all of this information, and yet they still made a finding. So we've called them out over it for 12 weeks and just said, can you please just correct the record or justify this false finding? And although I can't really go into the matter, you know, I think I will say that the weekend has been very difficult, because by challenging their false position, there has been some substantial repercussions for me personally as a result of that. And you know, I'm hoping one day when the lawyers are allowing me, I'll be able to to really, as you guys know privately, I mean, I'm not really hiding it, but I want to say it's wrong to have any repercussion for challenging local government. And I stand up not just for building safety. I stand up for anyone that seeks to raise an issue if an untrue statement has been pushed.
Quite right.
And I say, if as a society we allow all of this to go on and people to be silently destroyed every time they challenge, then a dark society we will become, even worse than we are now. And we must not allow this to continue. And one day, hopefully in the near future, I'll go into it all.
The one thing I want to make absolutely certain to anyone listening, and Hamish, I'm sure you'd agree, no single person is targeted in this. We are targeting a practice, a process, and a result. And we simply just want the Greenwich Council, not a person, an entity, to acknowledge the fact that at the time of construction, there have been noted, should be noted by honourable people who are seen as experts in the field, that it was in deficit. I mean, there is no quibbling about this, is there, Hamish?
Well, I don't see that there is, and we get into this area of complication. We started off with a serious issue, which is impacting. Although England and Wales, I thought, were combined, I didn't realise that the Wales Senate was actually sort of in itself imposing its will upon what was going on in the likes of Cardiff and Swansea. And there are other places as well. Right. But I didn't realise that it was imposing its will. Now, if the government actually came out with, or the Senate come out with and say, we the Senate believe that all the stuff that they reckon is perfectly adequate with all of these buildings that people feel unsafe in, one could just say, okay, we can say back to the government, we do not believe this to be correct. However, if somebody puts their name down and says, me, as a spokesperson for the government, who are we meant to actually respond to?
Well, it seems that if you respond to a particular person, potentially you could be had up for charges related to that particular person. I think that's false. So we have to keep it generalist, I guess. So that's why we are responding today and saying, Greenwich Council, please smarten your act.
Right,
please.
Yes, yeah. I mean, but the thing, the annoying thing is what I was trying to actually say. We wanted to speak about cladding.
Yes.
Yeah, we have actually found now that there is both a political stance and a stance on behalf of those builders to suggest that, hey, look, we want to get away with doing as little as possible. We don't necessarily need to make the residents safe. We don't necessarily have an interest in whether they can remortgage. We don't have an interest in whether they've lost hundreds of thousands of pounds on their properties.
Yes.
We've no interest in that whatsoever. We want to get away with as little as we possibly can. And therefore, we will hide behind anything any government or local government sort of says about it. Because what we've got is risk was assessed. And it was established that there is risk in all of these buildings throughout the country, throughout England, Scotland, Ireland, and Wales. Why we have to have different reasoning with different people? We are allegedly the United Kingdom, but we spread this out so you can't have one big argument about cladding. You've got to have 4 different arguments about the whole thing. But the risk is there. It's been demonstrated in Scotland. It's been demonstrated in Wales. It's been demonstrated in Northern Ireland. Yet here we are with a situation. The builder's saying, oh, that's great. Yeah, you keep on doing that because we're quite happy to go along with anything which we can actually slip under the door that we don't have to pay for is absolutely great by us. Yet, I'll tell you what, CMA, Competition and Marketing sort of authority, what we'll do, we'll bung you 100 million to stop you investigating us for passing these stories backwards and forward from each other. Not we will pay you some money to go towards the cladding. They haven't offered that to anybody. They've tried to get away from even paying into the fund because that's been deferred till next year. So when exactly we keep on it, a long wait to feel safe at home. When exactly because if you actually sort of take the time that all of these places where remediation hasn't started yet, and we heard of the absurdity last week from Matt about, oh, let's do something with 4 balconies and somehow or other that appeases the situation and makes everybody feel safe in their bloody flats. I mean, how farcical can you get with that? It's a risk. It's a known risk. Why are we sat about? Why are we arguing with the likes of Barrett Redrow, Bellway, Berkeley Group, Blawhomes, Persimmon, Taylor Wimpey? Why are they falling behind on remediation? And why are they being protected? Because we know that serious errors in Chelmsford. We spoke about Chelmsford a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
I know about Cardiff. There's places in Bristol. We've got challenges in Manchester. We've got challenges in Birmingham. The local authorities are not helping those particular people in those particular buildings. And that's really what, the risk has been deferred. It's been pushed away, pushed under the carpet.
Steve, I'm at a loss. It's a bit like you say black is white and then get run over on the next zebra crossing. It's just absolutely crazy, this. We've got absolute evidence to show that it's one way, and yet this council is loggerheads and determined to show it's the other way.
Well, I mean, I think the first thing to say is it isn't personal. This is a matter not about politics. I don't want anyone to think this is because I've stood as a Lib Dem candidate.
No,
I'm here as a person, and actually, I'm not doing it altruistically fully. I am a guy that has had a £31,000 bill. It caused me to fight as much as you've seen, but I am just another victim, a guy in England fighting for his home and his future. Right, that's how I got in. So I have my own skin in this game. It's not some weird political thing. I'm just being screwed over by the building industry.
But the interesting thing is, you only undertook this because you got screwed over. You only undertook to become a Lib Dem councillor on the back of the fact that you were screwed on. It's that way around, not the other way.
It's easy to paint it that there is more going on. There really isn't. I am telling everyone that if I'm being painted as that secretly in the council, that's just not the case. I got involved in local politics as a result of my hope that a motion would be put forward to take all the combustible panels off our fire shafts after Grenfell. I thought the council would just push that through, and I took residents over, and we were going to celebrate an easy win. Well, the council pulled out at the last minute after the deadline, and then our story deteriorated from there. But that wasn't my expectation. And so I would just say that it's not personal. It can be easily resolved, as we've been screaming. And I think you've ended many a Cladding Matters, Gareth, with an appeal to the council, basically saying it's just something you just need to, retract. It's really as simple as that.
We're not asking for an awful lot here. We're just asking for rational discourse to take place. And I just feeling that it's being ignored, really upsetting, frankly. All right. Well, look, I'm going to bring this to a close. Thank you once again, Steve, for coming on here. And I want to absolutely state positively, none of this is personal. It is to do with asking the council to say what is right and withdraw this wrongful statement that there was no case to answer. Hamish McClay, thank you very much for facilitating this. He's been the founder of this channel, and without him, I don't think we would have this mouthpiece. And to all you watching, I ask you, if you are in that borough, write to Greenwich, demand they look at the facts, ask that they retract this wrongful and harmful statement. Until next time, please keep your feet on the ground, keep reaching for the stars, and who knows, maybe good sense will prevail. And please look after each other's mental health. Bye-bye now.
There's a tale about some folks with hammers and some nails. They'll polish you the moon, but their word